This is the very room for a theater, precisely the shape and length for it. And my father's room will be an excellent green room if we move the bookcase in it.
Not serious, Tom, in meaning to act.
Not serious, Edmund. Never more so, I assure you.
It shows great want of feeling for our father, absent as he is, and...
Being delicate.
Yes.
We take up things far too seriously, as if the whole country were invited.
Our sister Maria, she's engaged to Mr. Rushworth. Our situation is extremely delicate.
Far too serious, far too serious.
Ah, Mr. Crawford.
Miss Maria Bertram, Miss Julia Bertram. My sister sends her love to be admitted into our company.
But what is our company to play?
Lovers' Vows. Why should not Lovers' Vows do for us? Here are two capital tragic parts for Yates and Crawford, and here is the rhyming Butler for myself, if nobody else wants it.
Splendid!
Yes, I longed to do the Baron at Ecclesford, and had to re-rant his speeches in my own room. Although, if Mr. Crawford...
Nonsense, Yates. Whichever part you do not choose will suit me very well.
Mr. Yates, your height and figure suit you for the Baron.
Quite right.
Very well.
Then I shall be Frederick.
But there are not women enough. Amelia and Agatha may do for Maria and me, but there's not a part for your sister, Mr. Crawford.
The part of Amelia falls naturally to Miss Crawford. It is highly comic.
I must entreat Miss Julia Bertram not to undertake the part of Agatha, or it will be the ruin of all my solemnity. The many laughs we have shared together would infallibly come across me. Your talents will be wanted in Amelia.
Miss Crawford must play Amelia.
Do not be afraid of my wanting the part. If I'm not to be Agatha, I simply will be nothing else. As to Amelia, I quite detest her. She's odious, little, hurt, unnatural, imprudent girl.
Well, Miss Price, the part of Frederick will need a German soldier's uniform, if you have anything like that.
And Maria, what part would your fiancé care for?
Oh, Rushworth, Mr. Rushworth will do anything.
Here it is. Rushworth, will you be Count Cassel or Anhalt?
Maria, will you direct me?
Well, Count Cassel must be very much dressed and choose his colors.
Of course, I am not going for finery, but Anhalt is a very stupid fellow. Count Cassel for me.
Capital. Now for the first act, we shall need a cottage and an alehouse. I mean you. Let me show you.
Ah. Thank you. Yes, here we are. Well, Agatha, what do you think of your son, Frederick?
The picture of a German soldier. We must rehearse the first act together.
Yes.
Yes, let's see. This'll do. Now, I believe Agatha, that's me, ill and penniless. Oh yes, after she has been thrown out of the inn, her son Frederick returns from the army.
Who is that? A poor sick woman? Take this, good woman.
Frederick!
Mother? For God's sake, why do I find my mother thus?
I cannot speak, my dear son! Wish I could hear, Frederick. The joy is too great and I was not prepared.
Come, be comforted. Compose yourself.
We shall have an excellent Agatha. There's something so maternal in her manner, so maternal in her voice and her countenance.
Now then, be comforted. I have leave of absence only for 2 months, and that for a particular reason. But I will not quit you so soon, now that I find you are in need of my assistance.
Particular reason? What reason?
When I left you 5 years ago, you gave me everything you could afford, and all you thought would be necessary for me. But one trifle you forgot, which was the certificate of my birth from the church book. You know, in this country there is nothing to be done without it.
So you were come for the purpose of fetching your certificate from the church book?
Yes, Mother.
Oh!
Dear Mother, what's the matter? What's the matter?
You have no certificate.
No?
No! The laws of Germany exclude you from being registered for. You are a natural son.
So, and who is my father?
Oh, Frederick, your wild looks are daggers to my heart. Another time.
No, no. I am still your son, you are still my mother. Only tell me, who is my father?
To reveal my errors to my child and sue for his mild judgment on my conduct.
You have nothing to sue for. Only explain this mystery.
I will. But my tongue is locked with remorse and shame. You must not look at me.
Not look at you. Cursed be the son who could find his mother guilty, though the world should call her so.
Oh.
We have got a play. It is to be a lover's vows, and I'm to be Count Cassel. And I shall come in first, in a blue suit, with a pink satin cloak, and afterwards, another fine fancy I do not know how I shall like it.
Lover's vows.
Then listen to me and take notice of that castle. My parents were poor but reputable farmers. The lady of that castle and estate requested them to let me live with her, and she would provide for me through life. Her only son, who was an officer in the Saxon service, obtained permission to come home. He was a handsome young man. He talked of love and promised me marriage. His flattery made me vain, and his repeated vows. Don't look at me, dear Frederick. I can say no more. Oh, my dear son, I was intoxicated by the fervent caresses of a young, inexperienced, capricious man, and did not recover from the delirium till it was too late.
Go on, let me know more of my father.
When the time drew near that I could no longer conceal my guilt and shame, my seducer prevailed on me not to expose him to the resentment of his mother. He renewed his former promises of marriage at her death, on which relying, I gave him my word to be secret. And I have to this hour buried his name deep in my heart.
But my father, all this time, I apprehend he died.
No, he married. A woman of virtue, of noble birth, and immense fortune. Yet, I had written to him many times, had described your infant innocence and wants, had glanced obliquely at former promises. He settled as far off as Alsace upon the estate of his wife.
I will carry you in my arms to Alsace. No, why should I know my father if he is a villain? My heart is contented with a mother. Should I be able to get my discharge, I will work all day at the plough and all night with my pen. It will do, mother, it will do. Heaven's goodness will assist me. It will prosper the endeavors of a dutiful son for the sake of a helpless mother.
Where could be found such another son?
But tell me my father's name so that I may know how to shun him.
Baron Wildenhaim.
Baron Wildenhaim. I shall never forget it. Oh, you are near fainting. Poor mother. Ah, hello. Who is there in that cottage?
Oh, we need a cottager and cottager's wife now.
I shall be Cottager as well as Butler. Fanny, we want your services. You must be Cottager's wife.
Me? I could not act anything if you were to give me the world. No, indeed, I cannot act.
It is a nothing of a part, so you may be as creep mouse as you like, but we must have you to look at.
Do not urge her. Let Fanny decide for herself as well as the rest of us. Her judgment may be quite as safely trusted.
My good friends, pray let me know my fate. Who is to be Anhalt? What gentleman among you am I to have the pleasure of making love to?
No one was going to take it on Anhalt, Miss Crawford.
If any part could tempt you to act, I suppose it would be Anhalt, for he is a clergyman, you know.
There's nothing in that situation that may tempt me. And indeed, I imagine it might make it a little difficult to make Anhalt appear anything but a solemn, firm, forceful lecturer.
There shall be no difficulty in filling the part. I can name 6 young men within 6 miles who are wild to be admitted to our company.
I can have no objections to anything you all think eligible. To be very disagreeable and by no means what I had expected.
Fanny, I want your advice.
My advice?
Put yourself in Miss Crawford's place. Imagine having to play Amelia with a stranger. It would be ungenerous. It would be wrong to expose her to that.
Yes, but what can be done?
I must take Anhalt for myself. You hesitate. Does it not strike you so, Fanny?
I am sorry for Miss Crawford, but I am more sorry to see you drawn into that which you had resolved not to do, and which you are known to think will be disagreeable to my uncle.
But if I can be the means of preventing...
It will be a great relief to her.
Oh,
I'm
Fanny.
glad to have her spared.
All I needed was your words to ease me.
How will I to be Cottager with no Cottager's wife? What is to be done?
What if Miss Price would be so good as to read the line?
Yes.
Yes, you need only read the part if it is not too disagreeable for you.
I will do my best.
You need only read before your cousins if that suits you better. Let's see now. After Frederick calls into the cottage, the cottager and his wife generously help Agatha into the house. And Frederick sets out, determined to beg for enough to make his mother well again.
Our parson would give him something.
Is that good man still living?
No, the new parson is the young tutor to our baron's daughter.
Is she here?
Don't you know that? It is almost 5 weeks since the baron and all his family arrived at the castle.
Baron Wildenhaim?
Yes, Baron Wildenhaim.
And his lady?
His lady died in France, many miles from hence.
By all accounts, the baroness was very haughty and very whimsical. They do say the baron was not so happy as he might have been.
Wife, never speak ill of the dead. Say what you please against the living, but not a word against the dead.
And yet, husband, I believe the dead care the least what is said against them. Bless him, our good baron is still the same as when a boy.
He was rather wild, as most young men are.
Yes, I remember when he fell in love with poor Agatha, Freebird's daughter. What a piece of work that was. I did not do him much credit. That was a wicked thing.
Have done. No more of this. It is not well to stir up old grievances.
Why, you said I might speak ill of the living. 'Tis very hard indeed, if one must not speak ill of one's neighbors, dead nor alive. Oh, poor woman!
Let us take her into the next room.
Miss Crawford,
Mr. Yates?
they have just finished playing Agatha, learning that the Baron has returned. Would you care to try the next scene, the breakfast scene, with the Baron, Amelia, and the Baron?
Certainly.
Has not Count Cassel left his chamber yet? I smell his perfumery throughout the whole castle. And am I, after all, to have an ape for a son-in-law? No, I shall not be in a hurry. We must be better acquainted before I give her to him. I shall not sacrifice my Amelia to the will of others, as I myself was so sacrificed. What a pity she's not a boy. The name of Wildenhaim will die with me. Amelia, you know you have a father who loves you, and I believe you know you have a suitor who has come to ask his permission to love you. Tell me candidly, how do you like Count Cassel?
Very well.
Do not you blush when I talk of him?
No.
No, I'm sorry for that. Have you dreamt of him?
No.
Have you not dreamt at all tonight?
Oh, yes. I dreamt of our chaplain, Mr. Anhalt, my tutor, just going to take his leave of us forever. I woke with fright and found my eyes full of tears.
I want to know if you could love the Count. You saw him at the last ball, but I cannot say what his conversation was.
Nor I either. I do not remember a syllable of it.
No, I do not think you like him.
I believe not.
To see you happy is my wish. I will send Mr. Anhalt to you.
Do, Papa.
We shall explain to you my sentiments. A clergyman can do this better.
Oh, my dear Colonel.
Good morning, though it is late in the day, Count.
Beautiful Miss Wildenhaim. I've traveled and seen much of the world, and yet I can positively admire you.
I am sorry I have not seen the world,
Wherefore?
because I might then, perhaps, admire you.
True, for I am an epitome of the world. In my travels, I learned some delicacy in Italy, in England, sincerity, and in the wilds of America, I learned to love.
Should you like to go out to shooting with me? An hour before dinner?
A charming thought. This will give me an opportunity to use my elegant gun. It is inlaid with mother of pearl. Even my coat of arms is engraved.
But can you shoot? Go get your elegant gun. I will call for you soon.
My dear Miss Price, I beg your pardon. May I entreat your help? Of course. If you would but rehearse with me my third act. You know, after the breakfast scene, the Baron goes shooting with the Count. Frederick begs from him, and the Baron gives him something, but Frederick says it is not enough, threatens the Baron with his sword, and is arrested. I remember. Before the Baron goes shooting with the Count, he sends Anhalt, the priest, Amelia's tutor, to advise Amelia about marriage with the Count. I had intended to rehearse it with Edmund, but, look at that speech, and that, and that. How am I ever to look him in the face and say such things? Could you do it? But then, he is your cousin, which makes all the difference.
Fanny, Miss Crawford, are you rehearsing?
We are.
I'm going to ask Fanny to rehearse with me, but we now must all rehearse together.
Well...
Please.
Very well. Fanny, you will still prompt me, will you not? Something must be the matter. Why do I cry? Am I not well?
I beg pardon if I have come at an improper hour. I come from your father.
You are welcome at any hour.
Do you know for what reason Count Cassel is alive?
He wishes to marry me.
Does he? Believe the Baron will not persuade the fugitive.
I know he will not persuade me to marry him.
He wishes that I should ascertain whether you have an inclination
For the count or for matrimony, dear?
For matrimony?
All things that I do not know and do not understand are quite indifferent to me.
For that very reason, I am sent to explain to you the good and bad of which matrimony is composed.
Then I beg first to be acquainted with the good.
When two sympathetic hearts meet in the marriage state, matrimony may be called a happy life. When such a wedded pair find thorns in their path, each will be eager, for the sake of the other, to tear from the root, for they have to mount hills or climb the labyrinth. The most experienced will lead the way and be a guide to his companion. Patience and love will accompany them in their journey, while melancholy and discord they leave far behind. Hand in hand they pass from morning till evening, through their summer's day till the night of age draws on, and sleep of death takes the one. The other, weeping and mourning, yet looks forward to the bright region where he shall meet his still surviving partner among the trees and flowers they planted in the fields of eternal verdure.
You may tell my father, oh, Mary.
This picture is pleasing, but I must beg you not to forget there is another on the same subject. When convenience and bare appearance join to folly and ill humor forge the fetters of matrimony, they gall with their weight the married pair. Discontented with each other, at variance in opinions, their mutual aversion increases the years they live together. They contend most, for they should most unite. Torment, for they should most soothe. In this rugged way, choked with the weeds of suspicion, jealousy, anger, and hatred, they hate their daily journey, till one of these also sleep death. The other then lifts its dejected head and calls out in acclamations of joy. Oh, liberty! Dear liberty!
I will not marry.
You will not fall in love.
Oh, no. I am in love.
Are in love. And with the Count?
I wish I was.
Why so?
Because he would, perhaps, love me again.
Who is there that would not?
Would you?
I'm out of the question.
When you began to teach me mathematics, I said I'd rather not know it. But now that I have learned it, it gives me a great deal of pleasure, and perhaps, who can tell, I might teach you something as pleasurable to you as resolving a problem is to me.
Woman herself is a problem.
And I'll teach you to make her out.
Teach.
Why not? None but a woman can teach the science of herself, and though I own I am very young, a young woman may be as agreeable for a tutoress as an old one.
The subject I came to you upon was marriage.
A very proper subject for the man who taught me to love, and I accept your proposal.
You misconceive and confound me.
I see how it is. You have no inclination to experience with me the good part of matrimony. I am not the female with whom you would like to go, hand in hand up hills and through labyrinths. No, you would rather cry out, oh, liberty, dear liberty.
Why do you force from me what is villainous to own? I love you more than life. Oh, Amelia, had we in those golden ages, which the poets picture, but as the world has changed, your birth and fortune make our union impossible. I would not marry you without the consent of your father. Could I dare propose it to him?
I will propose it to him.
I conjure you not to think of exposing yourself and me to his resentment.
It is my father's will that I should marry. It is my father's wish to see me happy. If you love me, as you say, I will marry and will be happy, but only with you. Oh, Mr. Bertram. Oh, it is your cue as the butler. Is it you?
Pardon an old servant, your father's old butler, if he thinks it his duty to make his congratulations with due reverence on this happy day, and to join with the muses in harmonious tunes on the lyre.
Oh, my good butler, I am not in the humor to listen to your muses and your lyre.
There has never been a birthday, nor wedding day, nor christening day celebrated in your family in which I have not joined with the muses in full chorus. And today, heaven has protected our noble master, who has been in great danger.
Danger? My father in danger? What do you mean?
My verse shall tell you.
No, tell us in prose.
Yes, it does.
Ah, you have neither of you ever been in love, or you would prefer poetry to prose. O muse, ascend the forked mount, and lofty strains prepare, about a baron and a count, who went to hunt the hare. Before them straight a youth appears, who made a piteous pother, and told a tale with many tears, about his dying mother. The baron's heart was full of ruth, while from his eye fell brine, oh, and soon he gave the mournful youth a little ready rhino. He gave a shilling, as I live, which sure was mighty well, but to some people, if you give an inch, they'll take an ell. The youth then drew his martial knife, and seized the baron's collar. He swore he'd have the baron's life, or else another $1. Maugre this young man's warlike coat, they bore him off to prison, and held so strongly by his throat, they almost stopped his whizzing. Soon may a neckcloth call the rope of robbing cure this elf. If so, all right, without a trope, his dying speech myself. Moral. Henceforth, let those who all have spent, and would by begging live, take warning here, and be content with what folks choose to give. And here the robber comes in custody to prove my words.
He's a young man with grief and sorrow in his face. No, he is no robber. Oh, how that unfortunate poor man must feel.
That is Amelia's cue to bring a basket of food to Frederick and tell him that the man he almost killed is Baron Wildenhaim, his father.
Yes, but not only is Frederick Amelia's long-lost brother, but Henry is actually my brother. We can rehearse later. Still, I suppose we'd better rehearse the scene with Mr. Yates. It's after that.
I will find it for you, and Tom and Rushworth as well.
Papa, Count Cassel has told me that he has made vows of love to so many women that on his marriage with me, 100 female hearts will at least be broken.
Do you believe him?
In one respect, I am sure he speaks the truth. For our old butler told my waiting maid of a poor young creature undone in shame and sorrow by his perfidy.
You sure the butler said this?
See him and ask him. I believe it's in verse.
In verse? I wanted prose on this occasion, and I command you to give me nothing else. Have you heard of any engagement which Count Cassel is under to any other woman than my daughter?
Am I to tell your honor in prose?
Certainly.
Well then, my lord, if you must have the account in quiet prose, thus it was. Phoebus one morning rose in the east, and having handed in the long-expected day, he called up his brother Hymen.
Have done with your rhapsody.
I knew you'd like it best in verse. Count Cassel is made so rare, and in her eye found grace, and if his purpose was not fair,
Keep to prose.
it probably was base. I beg pardon, my lord, but I have repeated it so often in verse, I scarce know how. But in plain truth, my lord, the Count was treacherous, cruel, forsworn.
I'm astonished.
And would be more so if you would listen to the whole poem. My lord, listen to it.
But tell me, had the father his daughter's innocence to deplore?
Ah, my lord, ah, and you must hear that part in rhyme. Loss of innocence never sounds well, except in verse. For the very night before, no prudent guard upon her, the count, he gave her oaths a score, and took in change her honor. Moral. Then you who now lead single lives, from this sad tale beware, and do not act as you were wise before you really err.
Leave the room instantly.
Don't affront my poem, Your Honor, for I am indebted to you for the plot.
Count, you are accused of being engaged to another woman while you offer marriage to my child.
To only one other woman?
Amazing insensibility! And can you hold your head erect while you acknowledge perfidy?
My dear Baron, if every man who deserves to have a charge such as this brought against him was not permitted to look up, is it a doubt whom he might not meet crawling on all fours?
Yet, nevertheless, the act is so atrocious.
But nothing new. What, did you never meet such a thing before?
If I have, I pronounce the man who so offended a villain.
You are singularly scrupulous. I question if the man thought himself so.
Yes, he did.
How do you know?
I have heard him say so.
But he ate, drank, and slept, I suppose.
Perhaps he did.
And was merry with his friends, and his friends as fond of him as ever.
Perhaps. Perhaps they were.
And perhaps he now and then took upon him to lecture young men for their gallantries.
Perhaps he did.
Why then, after all, Baron, your villain is a mighty good, prudent, honest fellow, and I have no objection to your giving me that name.
But do you not think of some atonement to the unfortunate girl?
Did your villain atone?
No. When his reason was matured, he wished to make some recompense, but his endeavors were too late.
I will follow his example, and will wait till my reason is matured, before I think myself competent to determine what to do.
Until that time, I defer your marriage with my daughter.
Would you delay her happiness so long? Why, my dear Baron, considering the fashionable life I lead, it may be 10 years before my judgment arrives to this necessary stage.
I have the headache, Count. These tidings have discomposed, disordered me. I beg your absence a few minutes.
I obey. Although, from the extreme delicacy of your honor, you have ever through life shuddered at seduction, yet there are constitutions and there are circumstances in which it can be palliated.
Never. Amelia is not to marry Count Cassel.
The poor soldier whom your justice has arrested asked for a private audience. Perhaps he has some confession to make that might relieve his mind.
Well, bring him in. I know, young man, you plead your mother's want in excuse.
I have a plea for my conduct, even more powerful than a mother's wants.
What's that?
My father's cruelty.
You have a father, then?
I have, and a rich one. Nay, one that's reputed virtuous and honorable. He abandoned me before I was born.
What do you say?
I am an illegitimate son. My seduced mother has brought me up in patient misery, but my father felt not that.
It touches my heart.
I found my mother dying in the streets for want, but my father, he feels not that.
What is your father's name?
He took advantage of an innocent young woman, gained her affection by flattery and false promises, gave life to an unfortunate being who was on the point of murdering his father.
Who is he?
Baron Wildenhaim. In this house did you rob my mother of her honor, and in this house I am a sacrifice for the crime. You shall accompany me to the spot of public execution. You shall find how I, in despair, will to the last moment call for retribution on my father.
Stop! Be pacified.
And when you turn your head from my extended corpse, you will behold my weeping mother. Need I paint how her eyes will greet you?
Desist, barbarian, savage, stop!
What do I hear? What is this? Young man, I hope you have not made a second attempt.
Yes, I have done your office. I have made a sinner tremble.
What can this mean? I do not comprehend.
He is my son. My son! Go, Anhalt. Help me. Advise me. Go to the poor woman, his mother. He can show you the way. Make haste. Speed to protect her.
But what am I to do?
Go. Your heart will tell you how to act. A son. A son. Where are my attendants? Follow him. Follow him. Treat him as a son. As my son and your master.
Wait, Yates?
Yes.
My sister and Mrs. Crawford's brother would like to rehearse the final scene with you.
Final scene.
It's the very end after the Baron reunites with Frederick as his son, after Anhalt convinces the Baron to fulfill his vows to Agatha and marry her, despite her class, and after the Baron approves the marriage between Anhalt and Amelia. The others have to come and watch.
Of course. Now I am ready. My heart is prepared to receive her. Haste, haste. Bring her in. Agatha, Agatha, do you know this voice?
Wildenhaim,
Can you forgive me?
I forgive you.
I hear the voice of my mother. Mother, father.
Splendid! We have gone through the end of the play. And nobody, I think, could fault such a fine production.
My father has come! He's in the hall at this moment!
In past years, we've had a Q&A session. If you have any questions, we're happy to answer them. Yeah. Oh, I totally... Man, that would have been really awkward for one of these parts. You know, the whole time.
Frederick doesn't have a son yet.
True.
Okay. Oh, no, question?
How did you write this? You adapted it from
Yeah.
the original.
This was very tricky. So we read Lover's Vows, which is really long and boring. So we tried to do the best parts version. That was part of it. And obviously we were picking stuff relevant to the stuff that comes up in the novel. So that was the first thing, and then we had to basically piece enough Mansfield Park to stitch those scenes together and give context. Yeah, so it was tricky. Yes.
How many pages are in Mansfield Park and Lover's Vows? 9?
You mean like in this play? Because
The originals.
the originals? Oh, I don't know. That's a lot of pages. We did not use very many of those pages. We have a total of, I think, like 24 pages or so.
That would be really impressive if you had that number.
Well, maybe 7 billion.
It's a 4-hour play.
It's a 4-hour play.
run across the poetry. Poetry, is that original to Lover's Vows, or is it your own creation?
That's all Lover's Vows. Actually, there's more of it.
I would say that part.
It's a lot of fun to read.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I wanted to know where I could hire my young rhyming Butler.
Business card.
Like a dumb waiter.
How did adapting this kind of, it's definitely different from the juvenilia type stuff you've done before. How did you like it better, worse? How did you find it harder to adapt?
Well, as far as the writing goes, it was much harder because I had to condense more material into less space. As for acting, thoughts? Those of you who have acted in it before, yeah.
Yeah, it was much harder because there are more gentlemen than there are women. The problem that they have in Mansfield Park. That was very difficult. I kept wanting to be a gentleman and I wasn't allowed.
Well, I would have loved to have her as a gentleman, to be honest, but the problem
Sure.
the problem is we're already playing 2 parts each, and so I felt like it was going to be too confusing. But yeah.
Excuses.
Some of us read.
Yes, some of us It's true.
As far as just the acting, it seems like in your past productions you've had to do more physical, like pratfalls and stuff like that, or am I imagining it? Like
Oh no, you're really getting carried home dead drunk and so forth. Yeah.
And one interesting thing about this one is there weren't any big props or scenery that we needed to use because the Mansfield Park characters are rehearsing, so they haven't built their stage and their green baize curtain and all that yet.
Right.
Which in the past, I think you have provided all the props yourself, like the haystack and the jail, which is quite the babies, perhaps. I'm not sure.
Babies were donated too.
And these were your teething, so yes. Thank you.
Another question about adapting the PlayMakers name. Do you have any great insights about Mansfield Park in your writing?
Well, Blanche has had actually a lot. As we've sort of worked through this together, there are a lot of weird parallels. I'm sure you noticed a lot of weird parallels between Lover's Vows and Mansfield Park. Some of them line up with who's playing whom, and some of them don't. But there's a lot of weird stuff that lines up. So I'm sure something has been written about this.
One that I find particularly weird is when the Baron, he's in this weird position where he kind of wishes that Amelia, like Count Cassel, and kind of married him, but of course her heart is set on the clergyman secretly, that he doesn't know. So even though Mary Crawford is playing Amelia, there's a kind of weird Fanny resonance there.
Right. And add to the wrinkle that, like with Mr. Rushworth, the father doesn't even like the guy, but he's like, well, but this is the situation we're in, Yeah.
Well, and Mary Crawford also originally says she likes Tom, and then decides when he's gone that she falls.
I was wondering if anyone liked Tom.
Yeah.
I was wondering, because it does make the parallels very apparent without having to read all of Lover's Vows, would you be willing to make the script available for those of us who teach it?
Yeah, well, I'm hoping to publish actually all the scripts if I can find somebody who will take them. But yeah, if you will email me.
Do you want a letter saying that people would use them in the classroom?
Yeah, you can email me.
That'd be great.
Any other? Yes.
I was really struck with how much Mary's willingness to love a clergyman and give up the money and all of that is so brought out in the play. And this is another example of
fortune to Anhalt, but I might share it. I think I have the upper hand there. He seems a bit solemn for a formal lecture.
That's the line, yeah.